A man suspected of leaking classified Pentagon documents is in custody this morning and officially facing charges. 21-year-old Air Force National Guardsman Jack Teixeira was arrested Thursday at his family home south of Boston. The leaks, the scale of which hasn't been seen in years, included dozens of documents detailing the defense capabilities and vulnerabilities of Ukraine, along with information about how the U.S. spies on its allies. With me now to get some perspective on the significance of these leaks is former U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Political Military Affairs, retired General Mark Kimmitt. Hi, General Kimmitt. Good to welcome you to our program. Thank you for making the time.
Sure, Bessie.
How much, sir, do you think the arrest of this individual has done to mitigate the damage that these leaks so far have caused?
I don't think the arrest has done anything to mitigate the damage. In many ways, the horse is out. They're trying to close the barn door behind him.
What damage do you think has been done?
A couple of things. Number one, obviously, the general release of the information, primarily that information that assesses the capability and intentions of the Russians as well as the Ukrainians, that never helps what's in the public domain. And of course, that second issue about spying on our allies, frankly, everybody knows that allies spy on allies. But when it comes out into the public domain, it's often used by opposition parties to fight hard against the parties in power. So the damage is significant. I think we'll get through it because this will cause some changes on the battlefield. But it certainly is a leak of the proportion that we saw with Edward Snowden and Julian Assange.
Let me pick up on the latter of the 2 points you made there with respect to the substance of the leaks and the way in which they kind of illuminate people as to how the U.S. is gathering its intelligence. We saw following the release of those documents that the U.S. was calling up their allies to quote unquote reassure them. Leaning on your experience at the State Department, how difficult a job do you think that is?
I think there will be a little bit of furor in the open press. Somewhat similar to what Angela Merkel had to do about 10 years ago when it was revealed that we were spying on her. But again, I think behind the scenes, the countries understand this normally happens, and it happens as a matter of course. However, I still think that the real issue will be, will these countries share critical intelligence with the United States if they think the next day they're going to be reading about it in the New York Times?
So how does the U.S. or the White House or the State Department, whomever is tasked with it, convince allies otherwise?
Well, that's the role of diplomacy. If our diplomats can't do that job, how can they do even tougher work than that? So it's just a matter of leaning on our years and years of alliance together and just recognize that, look, this happens. We got to work our way through it. We've got to maintain the trust and honesty between our two countries.
This individual who's been arrested, just 21 years old, a National Air Guardsman, I was reading that the Defense Department official told the Associated Press that as an information technology specialist responsible for military communication networks, he would have had a higher level of security clearance. I find that fascinating just because we didn't know the specifics of what he was doing, but I think most people thought 21 in that position, how would you have access to this classified information? When you hear those details as referred to the Associated Press, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it really does. If you think about network technicians, who is going to be installing the infrastructure for your network systems? Who is going to be able to tell you, in fact, if you've been compromised or if you've got malware inside your computers? This is what you expect these network technicians to be doing on a day-to-day basis.
And what are the wider implications, do you think, of the fact that not only he had access, which, as you point out, is perhaps to be expected, but that he was able to take these documents, release them in the way he was? Are there wider implications for the Pentagon?
There very much are. I think that the Pentagon, and in fact all of our government agencies, number one, need to take a hard look at how much distribution there is of this level of intelligence. If we're claiming that this intelligence is going to have a significant effect on the battlefield, then maybe it should be a little bit more restricted. But technologically, I think that we've got to be looking very hard at who has access to this kind of information, and do there need to be biometrics, fingerprints, eye scanners that are being implemented when you're looking at this information. There's a lot that can be done. There's a lot that should be done. I'm somehow thinking of the movie Casablanca when you find out about this kind of information being leaked, and it's, gambling. I'm shocked. We should fully expect this, and we should be fixing this well before it happens.
General Kimmitt, just before I let you go, I did want to lean on your military experience and ask you about the probability from where you sit that Ukraine in particular will have to shift or pivot its military strategy given the level of intelligence that was leaked about the vulnerabilities that exist for Ukraine.
Yeah, I think tactically they will certainly have to do that, although ground tactical low-level information wasn't very much released. But there is a larger strategic implication, which is it would appear to the general public now that Russia is doing better and Ukraine is doing worse than we had anticipated. A little bit of self-promotion, I wrote about this last July, that we might find ourselves in this situation. But I think that the most important impact will be the responsibility of the Ukrainians now to tell the rest of the world, no, we're in much better shape. Otherwise, they're going to lose support for this venture. And that's the worst thing that could happen. It could then be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay, General Kimmitt, I'll leave it there. Appreciate your analysis and insights today very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.